For the longest time, Fort Lauderdale used to be one of South Florida's best kept secrets. Think about it. I don't want to live in Miami and have to do with the hustle, the bustle, everything going on down there, but then I don't want to go move in West Palm and nothing really going on. So where's a perfect middle ground? Fort Lauderdale. And obviously people have known about Fort Lauderdale. It wasn't like a super really good kept secret. However, there's a lot of great things going on in Fort Lauderdale, and a lot of people kind of just overlook it. They either look at Miami or they look at West Palm. And now a lot more people are moving to Fort Lauderdale and getting to enjoy the lifestyle here. So in this video, we're gonna talk about everything that you need to know about moving to Fort Lauderdale and kind of why everyone's moving there. So we'll talk about the lifestyle, the housing, the things to do, the developments coming, and where people are moving from to move to Fort Lauderdale. But before we do that, my team and I are licensed realtors here in the state of Florida. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest anywhere here in South Florida or Florida in general, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can call us, text us, email us, DM us. Honestly, whatever's easiest for you, we got you. All right, so first up, let's talk about the location. Before we move to Fort Lauderdale, you gotta know exactly where it is. So Fort Lauderdale is in South Florida and is pretty much directly right in between both Miami and West Palm. So on the south side, you have Miami, north side, you have West Palm, and it is along the beach, so it's on the east coast of South Florida. Doesn't go as far west as the Everglades, cut off pretty much like the 95 area, but speaking of that location, it's pretty clutch. So you can make it without traffic about 30 to 45 minutes to downtown Miami. Without traffic going north to West Palm, you can make it in about 45 minutes to an hour. However, you are right near a ton of other major cities in between. So on the south side, you have places like Hollywood, Hollandale, Aventura. Then on the north side, you have places like Pompano, Oakland Park, Boca, Delray, Boynton. You are in a clutch location. Now, speaking of that clutch location, obviously you have an international airport right there, so traveling is very, very easy, and you have great proximity to some of the major road systems that we have as well. So obviously the scenic route is A1A, but traffic on A1A can be a pain in the butt, especially with the lights during season, spring break, holidays, anything like that. But it is a lot of fun to go up and down and drive. Federal Highway is another great way to get up and down, north and south that is. A lot of people like to take it, but then again, you're still running in the lights. So one of the best ways to get around, if you're not just going local, is to go on 95, which is obviously 95, I-95, everyone knows about I-95. Then we also have 595, which runs east and west, and that's a great way to get out west. We're going to places like Plantation, Davie, Coral Springs, even Weston. Then we also have the Turnpike, which runs north and south as well. So that's a paid for option instead of taking 95, because the traffic on 95 is brutal. Now I will say the traffic on the Turnpike can get brutal, but for the most part, the traffic on the Turnpike gets more like rough and a lot more standstill the further you get into Palm Beach County, and then the further south you get into Miami-Dade County. Now, if you go a little bit even further west, you also have 75 as well. So a lot of great ways to get around. Now, speaking of being right along the beach, you are home to some of South Florida's best beaches, especially in the Broward County area. So obviously we have like Fort Lauderdale Beach. If you're looking for something a little bit more quiet, we have Lauderdale by the Sea Beach, which is great. Honestly, Lauderdale by the Sea is one of the best beach towns, small beach towns in the entire state, I will say that, and especially in South Florida. You also have Pompano Beach, which is completely rebuilt their pier area and everything along the beach as well, so that Fisherman's Village, that's an excellent place to go and check out. Then if you head a little bit further south, another very quiet beach, you have Dania Beach. And then if you want to get a little bit more exciting, you have Hollywood Beach as well. Then obviously as you work your way further south, you get into Miami and some of the Miami beaches, but everything's very, very close by. We'll say in terms of location, Fort Lauderdale is centered more out east, while the greater Fort Lauderdale is that further west. So overall, I will say Fort Lauderdale is very residential. Yes, there are plenty of condos and plenty of condos coming, which we will talk about, but most of the condos right now that already exist are along the beach, so they are some of these older buildings that have been there for, you know, since they're pretty much the 60s on. Now, granted, there are not a lot of those in the 60s, but a lot of these buildings are from like 70s, 80s, 90s, not a whole lot of stuff built in the 2000s. It is until today, which we will talk about some of these new developments coming and how Fort Lauderdale is starting to rival that of Miami. Now, going back to the residential side of things, most of the home style that you will see here in the Fort Lauderdale and the greater Fort Lauderdale area are a lot of single family homes along with a lot of townhomes. There are a lot of great communities out here in Fort Lauderdale with places like Rio Vista, Coral Ridge, even like the Flagler Village area, which is actually more condos and apartments, mostly apartments right now. And we'll get into some of the development going on in Flagler Village as well. Speaking of all that development, obviously when you think of high rises in these condo buildings, because that seems like what I wanted to talk about anyway, you'll see that a lot of that, when you think of it, is in downtown Miami, Brickell, kind of, sort of, maybe the Coconut Grove, Coral Gables area, or even South Beach. Right now in Fort Lauderdale, there's not a whole lot. I mean, there's the ones on the beach like I was talking about, but the downtown area really isn't dominated by high rises. I mean, there's a lot of office space. However, Fort Lauderdale is starting to change, and you can kind of see that with some of these new buildings and new developments that are actually coming to the area. So overall, we do have 9 new buildings in total coming, with 4 already under construction. So with that being said, we have places like the Pier 66 residences, the Andari residences, 6 in Rio, Celine, 3000 Waterside, the Terraces, Nativo, and the Bahia Mar residences, along with the Ocean Harbor residences. So obviously a lot of stuff going on everywhere from like the downtown Las Olas area all the way out to the beach. I think some of the coolest projects will be those ones on the beach, but I'd love to see the downtown Las Olas area get built up because it's honestly a great place to live. Right now, there's a couple condo buildings. They are a little bit older, nothing like that of Brickell in Miami. So I'd like to see that built up and not just apartment complexes, because they are building a lot of apartments in downtown Fort Lauderdale, which kind of leads us back to Flagler Village. So like I was saying, a lot of development going on in Flagler Village. If you're not familiar, what in the world is Flagler Village? So the best way to think about Flagler Village is kind of like the arts and entertainment district. So think of like Wynwood in Miami, but just on a smaller scale. However, the developer who's starting to develop a lot of Flagler Village said it is going to rival that of Wynwood. Now time will tell. I mean, the proof is in the pudding when it comes to that. I mean, Wynwood's hard to beat. However, I think if anyone's going to do it, Fort Lauderdale and Flagler Village can definitely do it. And another really cool development is coming along A1A on the beach. No, it's not another condo building. No, it's not an apartment building. And no, it's not a marina. Well, technically it's a marina. It's actually called Marina Village. And Marina Village is going to be a food hall on A1A, pretty much as you come off of 17th Street and it kind of bends into like the Bahia Mar area. So it's going to be a food hall. Currently, there's going to be 8 restaurants in there and a bar, and set to open in June of 2024. So imagine this, you're grabbing a bite to eat on the water, maybe a drink, couple cold ones with the boys. Then you head right across the street to the beach, you go play some volleyball. Then you head down to the beach place, hang out. You can go to Fort Lauderdale, you can go to Hooters, you can go do your thing at Lulu's Bait Shack. I mean, there's a ton of options, or honestly, probably the best one, you go to Taco Bell Cantina. But I think this will really help develop the downtown Fort Lauderdale. Obviously, having a food hall is really one of the major trending things that you'll see here. I mean, Julian Henry's opened in Miami. Pompano's got their own food hall now, and having one kind of similar to that of Sistrunk Marketplace in Fort Lauderdale, but on the water or on the beach side, is definitely going to be something that helps propel the development here in Fort Lauderdale. In terms of propelling the development, obviously there's got to be stuff always happening. People are going to have to want to live here. There's got to be stuff going on, and Fort Lauderdale is not short of that whatsoever. Obviously, if you want to, you can go to Miami, Boca Del Rey, you can go to these other cities, West Palm, and experience what they have to offer and then come home to Fort Lauderdale. But honestly, you really don't have to. Fort Lauderdale's got a ton of stuff, a ton of activities, and the best thing is there is literally something for everyone. If you like the Renaissance Fair, you can go to the Renaissance Fair. If you like arts festivals, we have arts festivals. If you want to go to a food and wine festival, you can go to a food and wine festival. I'm telling you, there is something for everyone. A weekly farmers market at Oceanside Park, right off of Las Olas and A1A, you can go and do that. So that's one of the really nice things. So we have all that, the Air and Sea Show, art festivals, farmers markets, beachfronts concerts like Tortuga, Food and Wine Festival, the Renaissance Festival, holiday parades, run clubs. Oh, speaking of parades, sorry to back up. You do have to go to the Fort Lauderdale boat parade during the Christmas season. It is one of the coolest things that you'll see as boats go up and down the New River and along the intercoastal, completely decked out with lights. Now back to the list, we have run clubs, which are really fun, a great way to meet people. And on top of that, like I said, there's really something for everyone. Honestly, you go on Eventbrite, there's constantly things to do every single day. It doesn't matter if it's a Monday or even a Saturday. And a lot of those events do center around being outside. Honestly, being outside is a part of the lifestyle here in Fort Lauderdale, pretty much South Florida in general. I mean, at the end of the day, Fort Lauderdale is the yachting capital of the world. You're probably thinking, Joe, bro, I don't own a yacht. Like, okay, I get it, you don't own a yacht. However, there are a ton of people out on boats, just boating in general, and being on the water is a huge part of life. Fort Lauderdale is actually called the yachting capital of the world because they are home to over 50,000 different yachts. However, you can have a center console, a skiff, a jet ski, a paddleboard, a kayak, it doesn't matter. As long as you're out there in the water having fun with yourself, your friends, family, whatever it is, just get out of the house and enjoy being outside. Also, speaking of boating and being on the water, we are nicknamed the Venice of America with all the intricate inner waterways and canals that you can go and explore. It's really a fun time. You can even take the water taxi if you don't own a boat, rent a boat, or even just charter one for the day. Honestly, the best thing is just hop on a friend's, pay them back for some gas or buy beer. That's the best option, but plenty of different ways to get out there and explore. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Joe, why don't I just go to the beach? The beach is free. Well, technically it's not free because you still have to pay for parking, but you will notice a lot of people still go and enjoy the beach. Yes, the beach is plenty fun. Personally, I just don't like the sand. I hate the sand getting everywhere, and life is just a lot more fun on the beach. But aside from the beach, What other activities are there to do here in Fort Lauderdale? Well, I will say there are plenty of parks, whether you want to go play sports like basketball, pickleball, football, the track, or you want to go to like a nature park like Birch State Park, or you can go to Hazinga Park. There's a bunch of different options for everyone and all ages as well. Playgrounds, dog parks. Speaking of dog parks, we have some excellent ones like your normal traditional dog parks. And then we also have ones that are kind of centered around, you know, people too. So there's a place called Barkyard and Brews, which incorporates your dog having fun and you being able to enjoy some craft beers as well. Now, if you don't want to go outside and go to the park, you don't want to be on the water, maybe you're a shopping and dining person. Don't worry, we have plenty of options for you. Speaking of shopping, we have 4 malls pretty much within 30 to 45 minutes. You can go to Sawgrass Mills, the Galleria, the Aventura Mall, or even Boca Town Center. And honestly, each one of these malls is kind of different and unique in their own sense. Some are a little bit more upscale, some are outlet malls, and some just have kind of your basic necessities. So it gives you plenty of options. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really like going to the mall to go shopping and you want to go more to the boutique side of things, we do have Las Olas. So Las Olas is pretty much the main strip in the downtown area. And this is where all these shopping, dining, boutiques, entertainment, it's all there within this strip. And it pretty much runs from pretty much the downtown Fort Lauderdale area east to the water. And you'll see a ton of people walking up and down the street with their families, their friends. Obviously at night it kind of changes and it becomes more of a nightlife scene, but plenty of great options. Honestly, they have some of the best restaurants in Fort Lauderdale as well. Some of my favorites, obviously you can't go wrong with Cheesecake Factory, El Camino, Rocco's Tacos. As you can see, I like Mexican food. And they're actually starting to open up some different places as well, like a new Korean barbecue restaurant that we went and tried too. So let me know in the comments, if you've ever tried Korean barbecue, do you like it or is it just too much like the melting pot for you? So on the flip side of that though, at night, like I was saying, it does kind of change more into your nightlife type scene. So with the nightlife there in Fort Lauderdale, it isn't as much as Miami. It's not as lively, packed club scene, just, you know, be out 24/7. And it's not as quiet as like West Palm and Palm Beach where everything's closing at 1 a.m. You do get a nice mix of everything. You do have some great options on both the bar and clubs, or the bar scene. You have some options on the club scene, and you do have some options on the dive bar scene as well. So some of the best places that I personally like here in Fort Lauderdale to go out are number 1, Elbow Room. It's a staple. You can't go wrong with that. There's a new place called the Palm Room on Las Olas, which is pretty cool. If you're looking for more of that club type vibe, you have places like America's Backyard or Sway. Sway is kind of like a staple. America's Backyard is also like a spring break staple as well. Now, if you're looking for a nice mix of everything, you have the Wharf, which is really fun. And then you also have Booze Garden, which is a really cool spot to go and check out, which is more so that bar scene. Now, everyone's favorite. Let's talk about the housing here in Fort Lauderdale. So when we compare it to Miami, the median sales price right now in Miami is about $600,000. While in Fort Lauderdale, we're only at about $575,000. So right off the bat, you're saving about 25 grand, plus maybe your quality of life might be a little bit better than living in that of Miami. With that being said though, some people feel like they definitely do get it more bang for their buck in Fort Lauderdale, and that's the reason they move to Fort Lauderdale, or you know, they really just don't have to live in Miami or West Palm at all. Now, if you're looking for condo living, like I was saying before, we have a lot of condos coming and are in development, and we have some of these older buildings on the beach. So let's kind of look at both of them. So the con of buying one of these older buildings are some of the assessments that are coming up. So with all these buildings having to go through their 40-year recertification, a lot of them are charging assessments and their HOA fees are rising due to the insurance cost. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still buy some of these units, and this is where the pros come in, as you'll get a little bit of a discount for some of these units because the owners don't want to have to, you know, be paying this assessment month after month after month. So you can either negotiate to have the seller pay part of it, or you just take it on and you can afford it, but you're getting a nice discount on one of these older units. Now on the flip side, if we're looking at new construction condos, a lot of luxury condos coming to the Fort Lauderdale area. So, I mean, like you can go live on the water at the Sage residences, you can go live downtown at the Andari residences, go live on 17th Street, the Pier 66 residences. The only con right now is a lot of them haven't been finished yet. There isn't one of these new buildings that is officially finished yet, so you might be waiting a little bit, so maybe rent something, get a feel for the city, but also be locked in at that new construction pricing, which isn't bad. Now, when it comes to new construction townhomes and single family homes in the Fort Lauderdale, like the East Fort Lauderdale area, we don't really have a whole ton of it. So in terms of single family and townhomes, most of them are owned by developers, so they're one-offs. So not in these huge communities of brand new homes like you're thinking like in Orlando and Tampa, where they have these massive brand new communities with hundreds of homes. We don't really have that in the East Fort Lauderdale area, and that's really because, and pretty much the Broward County in general, when you look at it, that's because of the lack of land and the space. Now, the ones out east are like one-offs, like I said, and that's the really nice thing about it. And then as you go further west, like in maybe the Davie or the Pembroke Pines area, there are some new construction communities with townhomes and single-family homes. However, most of them, townhome-wise, you're looking at about $600,000. Single-family-wise, you're in the $1 million to $1.5 million range, which honestly isn't bad still. In terms of the home style that you will see in Fort Lauderdale, there's a big emphasis, like I was saying, about the lifestyle in general of being outside. Now the lifestyle for homes are on the water. I mean, think about it. If you own a boat, would you rather have to get up every day, drive to the marina, wait for them to put in the water, get on it, then go back to the marina, do your thing, then have to drive home? When you can literally just wake up, yawn, good morning, walk right out to my backyard, hop on the boat, go out for the day, hang out, come back, wash it in my backyard while everyone's in the pool hanging out, grilling, barbecuing, enjoying a cold one. That sounds a lot better than heading over to the marina. So there's a big emphasis on that, whether it's condos, townhomes, single-family homes. A lot of people want to live on the water. However, when you start to live on the water in Fort Lauderdale, I mean, you're looking at, for a decent-sized home over about 2,000, 2,500 square feet, you're upwards of $2 million. So some people do opt for just, maybe not living on the water, but living out east and giving a little bit of a smaller home, a little bit better price point for them, and then having the boat at a marina. But honestly, the best thing is, bite the bullet, live on the water, then you don't have to pay the fee to keep it at a marina. That's what I would personally do. Now, in terms of the feel for it, like I was saying before, it is very suburban, so you will have a lot more people kind of move further west if they don't live on the water, because you do get a little bit of a smaller home out east if you're not on the water. So if you want a larger home, and I'm already not going to live on the water, most people opt to live a little bit further west, so that's west 95, close to the Everglades, so places like Davie, Plantation, Coral Springs, Weston, Parkland, Coconut Creek, all these areas are places that people start to look. You can get a little bit larger of a house. Being around 3,000 square feet and still under $1 million is not unheard of in any of these areas, and it's pretty much the suburbs of Fort Lauderdale. And honestly, living out west isn't that bad either. At the absolute worst case, all the way out west, you're only about 30 to 45 minutes from Fort Lauderdale and the beaches, so it's not a bad drive whatsoever. Another reason a lot of people are opting to live out west is the cost of insurance. Now, I will say in the last couple months, insurance is getting a lot better here in the state of Florida. However, you've probably seen plenty of videos talking about the insurance crisis in Florida is absolutely out of control. I will say your premium overall in Florida is going to be much more than like a state like Kansas, but that's because we live right near the beach. We're right near a lot of water. You have all these storms that happen, and it's normal. So with that being said, a lot of these premiums are starting to come down, and a lot of people are taking things into their own hands by putting on new roofs, because a lot of these homes were built in the 90s, so a tile bale roof, it's only got a 30-year life, so they're starting to need to be replaced. Shingle roofs only have about a 20-year lifespan, so they've already passed that. However, they were built in like the early 2000s. They're starting to need to be replaced as well. And a lot of people are opting to put impact windows and doors around their house as well, because if a hurricane comes, having to put up shutters is a pain in the butt. However, if you have the impact windows, you don't really have to do anything unless a category 5 comes. So at the end of the day, why are people moving to Fort Lauderdale? Honestly, it's a mixture of things. It's the housing, it's the lifestyle, it's the outdoorness, and it's just the friendliness and constant things to do. I mean, think about it. Your top 5 places that people are moving from to Fort Lauderdale are LA, Chicago, Boston, Washington, DC, and New York. What do all those have in common except for LA? It's freaking cold in the winter. Why would you want to be cooped up 6 to 8 months out of the year when you could literally spend pretty much your entire year outside? Like, think about it. On Christmas Day, we're out on the boat, out in the ocean. What other place could you live in the US and do that? So that's one of the really main parts of why people are moving here to Fort Lauderdale. Plus, they're realizing that it was one of South Florida's best kept secrets. Think about it. I don't want to live in Miami. I don't want to live in West Palm. What's the next best option? Fort Lauderdale or Boca? Fort Lauderdale and Boca are very different. So if you want me to make a video on the differences between that, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you or anyone you know are looking to move to Fort Lauderdale, South Florida, or Florida in general, like I said before, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can call me, email me, text me, DM me, whatever's easiest for you, we got you.